TOSE and Bandai have given me a lot of garbage as I've gone through this project. Enough that when I see the two of them together, I take it as a warning. And here they are returning with an RPG based on a spin-off of a spin-off of Gundam. And it's actually not bad. Gundam, of course, is the science fiction epic about giant humanoid war machines. And Bandai decided that they wanted to make a more kid-friendly version of that, so they created the cutesy SD Gundam. And then they decided that they wanted to make a card game based on that, so they transplanted all of the cute versions of the giant robots into a fantasy setting. And that's just referred to by the title of the main character, Night Gundam. And that version wound up spinning off into its own franchise, complete with its own set of cartoons and video games, which is why I'm here. So how do you translate all of that into a video game? Well, you just copy Dragon Quest III, of course. And I'm not being flippant there. Night Gundam Monogatari is just Dragon Quest III. It's actually kind of amazing how closely they copied it. And in this case, I mean that in a complimentary way. A lot of these games that are copying Dragon Quest don't manage to live up to that standard. But Night Gundam Monogatari at least reaches the baseline of Dragon Quest III, and in a few ways I actually think it surpasses it. The plot of the game is that Satan Gundam has shown up and abducted the princess of a kingdom. So the king summons Night Gundam to help save the world. Right off the bat, when you start the game, you have an enormous scripted sequence where you meet some allies who take you over to meet the king. After the king gives you your quest, you have to talk to one of the guards in the throne room to get your starting cash. With that in hand, your party of 3 sets out to the first town. And here you could buy equipment to load out your characters and prepare them for the battle ahead. Or you could go up to the vending machines that sell the trading cards. The vending machines in town are based on the real-world vending machines that sell card-ass cards. That's the card game that Night Gundam comes from. The cards cost 20 gold each. They cost 20 yen each in real life. And you'll also need to get an album for them from a person in the first town. Once you have both, you can start playing card-ass against people you find around the world. And yes, I did spend a lot of time talking to every single NPC in every single town I visited, hoping to find people who would play cards against me. As you're exploring, you hit the A button to bring up the menu, and as you'd expect, it has the usual commands. Talk, magic, status, items, equipment, and search. And once you have the album, you also have Card-Ass, which lets you inspect your cards. There's a few key items besides the album that you'll find in that first town. Like you'll get a ledger that will keep track of your money for you, and you can set that ledger to tell you when you've reached certain thresholds. Useful when you're grinding up cash for equipment. At the inn, you can purchase insurance. For 10 gold, you lose nothing if you party wipe. Otherwise, you lose half your money. So that is automatically worth it. The person who sells insurance will also revive dead characters at no cost. You can also get the princess's pennant, which you can show to a dog in the castle, and it'll start following you around. So Night Gundam Monogatari isn't just copying Dragon Quest III, they're also copying Dragon Quest II. When you're outside of town, you'll get into random battles, of course, and there you'll have the usual choice to attack, use magic, use an item, or run away. Naturally, all of your magic abilities are Gundam themed, so attacking with the beam saber is a spell. You level up really quickly in Night Gundam Monogatari, and leveling up refills your health and magic, so you actually don't need to use the inn particularly often. Upon leaving the first town, you lose your companions, so if you do want to buy equipment, just concentrate on giving Night Gundam all of the best stuff. Your buddies will rejoin you pretty quickly, and there's a boss fight where the character will join you afterwards. So you'll get to a full party before you reach the first dungeon. While you don't have to grind for experience too much, you are going to want to grind for some cash. That first dungeon has some enemies that hit like trucks, and getting everybody fully armored can be a bit expensive. There's also some enemies who increase their own physical defense, and for those you'll want to level up enough that you can cast spells at them. And I know that you're all dying to learn how the card game works. Well, it's just war. You pick out a card, your opponent picks out a card, and then they slam into each other until one falls over. This actually leads to a problem with a couple of cards where if they get into a match, they have hundreds of hit points and can only do 1 point of damage to each other. Most players just reset if that happens. Night Gundam Monogatari led to a lot of games. In fact, we'll be seeing 2 sequels on the Famicom. This is actually a beloved series in Japan, though I think people prefer the sequels to the original. My own opinion, going 1 hour into this game, it's another Dragon Quest clone, but it's a really well-made Dragon Quest clone. And everybody always loves card games in their RPGs. In fact, I think this is the first RPG to have a collectible card game in it. They put a lot of things in this game to smooth over the rough edges of the 8-bit RPG genre, like the insurance and the ledger that tracks your savings. The biggest problem here is that there's only 1 battery save slot. Night Gundam Monogatari might not be one of the best RPGs on the Famicom, but it is one of the best that was just trying to be Dragon Quest.